Semen retention. To some, it's a path to discipline, energy, clarity, even spiritual power. To others, it's just another internet trend, half science, half superstition. But here's the question. Is semen retention a real tool or is it just a cry for help? Because when you listen closely to the stories of men who practice it, a pattern emerges. They are not celebrating power, they are confessing pain. Most men who come to semen retention don't start from strength. They start from straining. Addiction, chronic, beating up the meat, failed intimacy, relationship scars, loneliness, rejection. It's not usually the man at his peak who decides to retain. It's the man at his breaking point, desperate to rebuild. And that's where the masculinity cuts in. Retention isn't always about discipline. It's about damage control. It's about men trying to claw back energy they already burned. It's about men searching for a way out of habits that consume them. In that same sense, semen retention is less a badge of strength and more a cry. I have lost control. I need help to take my life back. History shows men have always connected sexuality to power. In Taoist China, men practice retention, believing it preserves life force, Jing. In Hindu tradition, brahmacharya preached restraint to harness spiritual energy. In Christian monastic life, celibacy was tied to holiness. Even in African tradition, men believed sexual discipline could sharpen warriors before battle. But here's the key. In all those cases, retention was practiced with purpose, not panic. It was chosen from strength, not desperation. Fast forward to now. The modern semen retention movement is full of men whose story sounds less like monks and more like recovery meetings. Couldn't stop watching porn. I wasted years chasing dopamine. I ruined my relationship because I couldn't control myself. Retention becomes the bandage for wounds that never healed. That doesn't mean it's useless now. But it does mean we have to ask, is this about mastery or is this about survival? The psychology is clear. Every habit leaves a mark. Chronic corn use reshapes dopamine pathways. Constant release dulls motivation. And when men finally notice the emptiness, they swing hard in other direction. They preach retention, not because they've mastered balance, but because they are terrified of falling back. That's not strength. It's fear management. But here's where it gets dangerous. Some men treat retention like magic. They think abstaining alone will make them powerful, confident, and desirable. They think women will flock, money will flow, muscle will grow. That's not discipline. That's delusion. Because semen retention without purpose is just abstinence. And abstinence without growth is just waiting. The masculine truth is this. Retention can sharpen you, but only if it's part of a bigger system. If you pair with discipline in fitness, in focus, in relationship, it can restore balance. But if it's the only thing you are doing, it becomes another crutch. You are not mastering yourself, you're just switching addiction. You trade release for restraint, but the obsession stays. Different cultures knew this balance. In Taoism, retention wasn't forever. It was cyclical, practiced with intention. In Buddhism, detachment from desire wasn't about denial. It was about control. In African warrior traditions, restraint was temporary, used to build focus before war, not as a lifetime vow. The wisdom across the world was the same. Discipline isn't about denial, it's about direction. So is semen retention a cry for help? In many cases, yes. But that doesn't make it worthless. A cry for help can still be a path to healing. If admit it help you after. The problem comes when men pretend retention is strength. When really it's recovery. There's no shame in recovery. The shame is in pretending you don't need it. Here's the comedy of it. Some men walk around bragging about their retention streaks like they have unlocked superpowers. Day 7, women are staring at me. Day 62, aura is magnetic. Bro, you're not a wizard. You're just less tired because you stop draining yourself every 5 minutes. Clarity doesn't come from magic. It comes from discipline. So here's the masculine perspective. Retain if you want. Use it to break free from bad habits. Use it to sharpen your focus. But don't idolize it. Don't treat it as the ultimate path to manhood, because manhood isn't measured by how long you hold your seed. It's measured by what you build with the energy you saved. Retention is a tool, not a trophy. And tools are only as good as the hands that use them. Moving on. The man who retains but builds discipline, purpose, and presence, he's the one who grows. So is semen retention a cry for help? For many, yes. And maybe that's fine. Because sometimes the cry is what wakes you up. But the real measure isn't whether you hold your seed. It's whether you build a life strong enough that you don't need to cling to it like a lifeline. Unless you really believe counting days without release is the same as living with purpose. Let's keep going. I'll catch you in the next one.